So, get asked all the time if Death Shadow is the only deck I play, if I'm a Death Shadow one trick. And for the most part, the answer is yes. But every now and then, I do venture out and just like try something else just to see what it's like, see the other side of the fence. I know the grass isn't greener on the other side, but I at least want to like appease the masses and show that other content is a possibility if you're wanting to come to this YouTube channel for more than just Death Shadow. So decided I'm gonna start like recording leagues off stream with various decks, just to kind of show some gameplay for things like that. So this league was one that I ran through last night. Decided to just do the voiceover for it today, so you can kind of see some blue-red Murktide gameplay, because Lord knows there isn't enough of that going around. But all I did was take about as stock as you can get blue-red Murktide list and just jump into a league with it, see what happens. Like, I play against the deck enough times. The hope is that, like, maybe I can make some halfway okay plays and figure out how to get a few wins here and there. So this is going to be the recap of this blue-red Murktide league. I haven't done a lot of testing with the deck, so as far as, like, individual card choices go, it's just a stock list that I'm running through with. So, opening hand here. Reasonable. Got some threats. Got an Archmage's Charm. We're on the draw, which is a little less exciting with Ragavan, but I don't think I can throw it back because it just has a good curve and functions. Scalding Tarn on the other side makes me assume that I'm in a blue-red Murktide mirror. The last thing I want to do is have them, like, play out my Ragavan, have them end of turn Unholy Heat it, untap, like, dash a Ragavan. So if I'm going to lose a creature, I think I'd rather lose the Channeler than the Murktide, or than the Ragavan. Ketria Triome means not blue-red Murktide. Probably, like, Teamer Scape Shift or something. Ren and 6 kind of like confirms the probably scape shift theory. So we're just gonna bolt the Ren, get the Rag down. I could dash the Ragavan on the Ren, but then I'm just like back to hand, no treasure, passing the turn with open mana. Second Ren, I expect them to kill the Ragavan here, but they end up just upticking for the land. So I assume they've got a removal spell. Yep. Well, let's get Shredder down. At the very least, we know that they're not scape shifting or Titan this turn, so gotta remember to move that over so we can see the full board. Explorer is fine. Dwarven Mine, so it could be a creativity deck now. It could just be, like I said, a scape shift deck. I don't actually know with Dwarven Mine. Like, Explorer makes me think it's a scape shift deck. But Ledger Shredder give me a little bit of value here. Could hold up Archmage's Charm, but I kind of just want to get like more action going. Ragavan's not doing anything against a bunch of tokens and Ren and 6, so we'll just take our free land drop. See that Spire Bluff Canal on the top of my library? I don't want that, so I'll go ahead and ship it away. Heat's a nice draw, allow me to kill the Ren and 6 if I want. But for the most part, I want to wait as long as I can so I can at least bluff counterspell. Like, if I fire off this Unholy Heat, then I know that they can resolve anything that they want here. Because I can't pay for anything with, like, Spell Pierce, which is what I'd be bluffing. But if I wait, then maybe I can just, like, pick off this Ren, get the Consider in. They've already used Ren for the turn, so I'm not afraid of, like, a Ren down tick. But, sequencing here. I want to Unholy Heat first, so this Consider is the Connive enabler. That way I get to see what I'm drawing and discarding off the Ledger Shredder before I decide what I'm drawing into and discarding off the Connive, or off the Consider. So we'll take a Murktide. Start looping expressive iterations. Not going to play the Murktide here so I can hold up the Archmage's Charm. Like, I'm not under a lot of pressure. My primary concern here is just losing to my opponent, like playing a Scape Shift or something. Scape Shift or a Indomitable Creativity. I mean, just like not having an answer for it. Like, if they just want to make a bunch of mana, that's fine. Jace, unfortunately, I have to let resolve because, again, Jace doesn't kill me, but Creativity or Scape Shift does. But now that they've tapped off of Scape Shift or Creativity, I'll take the kill there. So decide to lead with the expressive iteration because I would like to find more counter spells. And I'm seeing something. I see the Fable on top that I don't really care about countering. But the important thing is they haven't played a big payoff spell into 2 open blue mana yet. So I'm just going to try to take advantage of that. Like, I could play out the Murktide and try to make it like a quick clock. But if I play out the Murktide, then they know they just have free reign to resolve whatever they want. So we're just getting a bunch of goblins. We'll just kill the Kiki Jiki. Because again, at this point, I don't care if they have more mana. That's not doing anything. But copying something could be unfortunate. So let's get down to Murktide and just pass with Archmage's Charm. They're going to get some filtering here, but again, kind of like the Jace turn, my goal is more to like stop something that's going to kill me, not stop these little like clunky value pieces. So I'd probably counter like an Unholy Heat if they happen to have one, but I don't think these decks usually play Unholy Heat. Alright. So now I can double spell, keep up Archmage's Charm. Now that I've drawn the second counter, I don't really care about keeping up or playing out the second Ledger Shredder. I'm just going to make them have to deal with both of my threats, and I've got 2 counter spells. These flipping doesn't do anything, so they've essentially got their 1 card in hand plus their 1 draw for turn. And they've got to kill me with those through a counter spell. So if it doesn't kill me and it doesn't kill both of my dudes here, I just ignore it. Explorer doesn't kill me, doesn't kill both of my dudes. That does in fact kill me and kill something of my dudes. So we're going to counter that and hope they don't have a second one, which they don't. So we're able to swipe game 1. It's kind of the power of the Murktide deck, is you just do a really good job of living, and then eventually say, cool, here's something you can't beat in the form of like Murktide. So opponent's on a mulligan, we keep our 7. I've got answers like a turn 2 Wrenn and 6, which is really important on the draw. I've got some answers for like Fable tokens, stuff like that. Hard Evidence is fine. again, if I get a chance to snap off this Spell Pierce on a Wrenn and 6, I'm thrilled. Wow. Get out of here. So, I do have to remember that I've got, I guess I didn't really talk about sideboarding. So, I boarded in the Blood Moon. I didn't board in Magus because they have Lightning Bolt. Boarded out a lot of the spot removal for like 3 copies of Engineered Explosives. Ragavan gets stonewalled by these tokens, as well as the Dwarven Mine tokens. And then Dragon's Rage Channeler was like something that just gets pinged off by Wrenn on the draw really easily. And if they're running like Endurance or something, I don't really want to run into that. So I boarded in the... What I boarded in? The 3 EEs. The... You can go look. The Blood Moon, the 3 EEs. The 2 Fluster Storms. And I believe that's it. Yeah. Could have boarded in the Mystical Dispute if I was expecting them to bring in disputes and stuff, but honestly, disputes only for like Prismari Command. And after game 1, I saw Wrenn and 6, Fable, Explorer. I did see Jace the Mind Sculptor, but I've got like counter spells and Archmage's Charms and stuff for that, so I'm not too afraid. So we're going to get the island here in case we happen to draw into the Blood Moon. Get the EE down just to be able to clear up any tokens that are sitting around at any point. Opponent ditches an Archon. So at this point I have to be considering, like, are they on a persist backup plan? We did see a Zeotora's Proving Ground, the Jund Tri-Land game 1. So they could have persist. They don't appear to be fetching out black very aggressively, so there's a decent chance that, like, they just have like 2 or 3 black sources to be able to hard cast an Archon if the game goes super late. Because usually if they were running persist, you see them like fetch up a Triome a lot sooner to have access to that black. Right. So we'll chill on Counterspell and Archmage's Charm for a turn, so we can try to Murktide next turn plus hold up Counterspell. Just be mana efficient, kill the Kiki Jiki. Also lets us play out this Murktide for the full 5 and hold up Counterspell or Archmage's Charm. So here it's just, alright, I've got a 2-turn clock. Again, I'm going to counter anything that says, like, kill the Murktide or kill me. Anything else I don't care about. Like, Wrenn and 6, sure, you got a land. You hit your 5th land drop. Don't care. And now I've got double counter spell up, so I can, if they go land, like, Creativity or Transmogrify or something, I can counter that and fight over a backup counter spell. So, it's going to be pretty difficult for an opponent to present lethal from here. There's Creativity, here's Counterspell, and they don't have the Mystical Dispute or anything, so we end up taking down match number 1. So let's go to match numero dos. We are on the draw. Opening hand, we've got a Bolt, some counter spells, Expressive Iteration to help find a threat or refuel, so really good hand. So thinking they're like burn here, not burn. My hand is a lot worse against Prowess here because I've only got the one spot removal spell. So I'm just gonna hope I dodge a mutagenic growth. If I pass the turn, then they've got like 20 ways to protect the Lumimancer. So just firing off that first removal spell on turn 1 is like my kind of Hail Mary shot. So they did miss their second land drop. Since they missed their land drop last turn, I'm just going to fire off this counter spell. I want to keep guys off the board since I'm really low on removal right now. So let's play out Ragavan. I can chump block with it if I absolutely need to. Otherwise, you can at least attack in. So they anger, and they do find a land. Niv Magus is it's a big issue for counterspell decks, because now anytime they cast something and I go to counter it, they can just like exile it to the Niv Magus, and that wrecks my entire world. So kind of like here, they'll just exile the spell, get the free block. So I thought about playing Dragon's Rage Channeler there. I could crack the fetch and make it a 3/3, but I think I would rather sit on this Otawara here because of the Niv Magus. If they cast a bunch of spells and I try to like Spell Pierce, they exile them to this, and I'm just taking like some big chunk of damage. But with the Otawara, if they go all in on the Magus' turn, then maybe I can just like bounce it and they can't replay it right away. Then here I'm just going to bounce the Virtuoso, because I can't really afford for them to just be scrying like crazy. Or conniving like crazy. Like I'm the one that needs to find answers and get out of this. Bend the counter spell because I need to find like removal and threats. I don't need to find counter spells. Like I've got Archmage's Charms I can draw to. Murktide would be reasonable right here. Polluted Delta not so much. So now we've got a situation where like cards like Manamorphose are terrifying for me, because they cast a Manamorphose, they get like a Magecraft trigger. If I try to counter it, they just get to put the counters on the Niv Magus. So like Manamorphose is +4/+4 even if I counter. Same thing with like this mutagenic growth. Like even if I counter it, they're still getting Magecraft trigger here. They can exile to the Niv Magus. So any spell just like kills me. And that's exactly what happens. So let's go to game number 2. So we board in the 3 engineered explosives, and I board in the 2 Fluster Storms for the 2 Dragon's Rage Channelers that I don't want to be in a situation where I've got creatures that have to attack and can't block if I get defensive, and Ragavan's just like not attacking through anything. So I want to board those out, or a couple of those out, and then Expressive Iteration because it's pretty slow and clunky, and I might not have the ability to like play it and not be leaving up mana. Alright, so opening hand, I've got Ragavan, I've got a way to clear out a blocker, I've got the EE to kind of wipe up the board. Subtleties, maybe if I find a blue card, I pitch it. But it's probably not going to be too relevant. But I'm more keeping for, like, the rest of this hand. Just hoping Ragavan connects and they don't have a Lava Dart. So we'll fire this off just to draw a card. Magus is a little terrifying. We do find our second land, which is a start. Unfortunately, it's a blue source, which doesn't do a lot with all these burn spells. Decide to bolt instead of bolt instead of Unholy Heat because of mutagenic growth. Like, I want to make sure if I'm pointing a removal spell on it, they're either firing off like multiple ways of dealing with it, or it's dying. And since it's into turn, I can always like untap and play more. Alright. So we'll try to see if we can deal with one. I thought about firing off a removal spell on the second one, but if I'm able to just like untap with subtlety, then I think that's going to be a reasonable spot for me. Play out this EE. What I'm going to do is just like wipe up this Niv Magus. Like, this is a really, really big problematic card for me. So Ragavan's done like more than his job. So I'm just going to trade him out here for this Lumimancer. And now I kind of feel like if I answer the next thing and I've got subtlety for whatever the next threat after that is, that I might be in a reasonable spot. So they drop down the Magus. I do have Delirium now. So any spells I can get them to throw out to fight over some of these removal is a good step for me. Alright. Board's clear. They've got 2 cards, drawing up to 3. Swift Spear is one of their better draws there for sure. So I really need to find like an Archmage's Charm, another E, something like that. Ragavan's not the greatest, but at least I get to play it out as a potential blocker. And now it's kind of a question of damage. Like, they didn't give this Swift Spear vigilance, which means that I could just like flash in this subtlety into turn and start clocking. But I decide not to because I don't like the way that the damage race kind of favors them here. Silence wasn't very high up on my list. But here, now we have access to like flash in subtlety, block if we want to. We've got Flusterstorm, so I feel like there's a reasonable chance I'm not dying here. And they make this attack, and I'm like, alright, I flash in subtlety, and I block, and it's fine. They don't have like a Lava Dart in the graveyard. And then I decide, like, you know what? if you got exactly a lava dart here, I'll take the L. Because anything else I can Flusterstorm. But if I keep my subtlety around, then I have the chance to just fly in for 3 here, and next turn, like, block with Ragavan, untap, kill with subtlety. And Flusterstorm at least provides a little bit of protection there. But then, obviously, we just draw the E, and that becomes cool. We're going to wipe the board, kill him with subtlety. So that's game 2. On to game 3. Game 3 on the draw. We've got Unholy Heat, Spell Pierce. So I'm going to end up keeping this hand because we've got Unholy Heat for a 1-drop. And then I could potentially find... I'm on the draw with the Bauble. I've got a few looks at like 2nd and 3rd land, and if I get Archmage's Charm, then I feel reasonably protected. Ooh. Going to my turn to see if I draw the 2nd land so I can Spell Pierce or Unholy Heat and hold up Spell Pierce. So it's kind of the hope here is maybe if I pass to their turn and they lead on something like a Manamorphose, I can pierce the Manamorphose and like Unholy Heat with this Magecraft trigger on the stack. But they can have Mutagenic Growth, which is a little unfortunate, but still Spell Pierce the Manamorphose. Just take our beats here. Alright. I'm just going to steal this Lumimancer on my main phase, play around like protection spells, stuff like that. And most of their stuff, not all, doesn't have haste, so you're typically not too afraid of taking like a big hit on the crackback. Alright, so this is kind of the greed play. I could just play out like a 6/6 Murktide and probably be fine, but instead we're going to go for the iteration, which whiffs on lands, unfortunately. But we do find the engineered explosives here. And I decided to go ahead and get the attack in just because they rebound this Emerge Unscathed. So it's going to come back and give this protection from white, so I'm not going to be able to block anyway. So might as well just see what happens. Hope I don't die. Then Lava Dart, the Lumimancer's fine. So, we're just going to play EE on 1 and pass. I feel like I've got everything pretty well covered if I've got the EE out. I'm sure there's like some split-second shatter effect that gets me, but... can't beat everything. Alright, so yeah, they go for the Swiftspear swing. I just go ahead and crack the EE. Then again, we get greedy. We're going to find this land one way or another. And decide to just drop down the Murktide here. Because if they don't kill me this turn, I just get to untap and kill them with Murktide plus Bolt. So, yeah, they don't find a way to kill me. So, we just give them that 1 draw step and call it a day. So, that was... I think that was game number 2, right? No, that was game number 3. Alright, so 2-0. Going to round number 3. We are on the draw. Hand of Ragavan, Bobble, Bolt, Pierce. So yeah, got to keep this. Turn 1 Ragavan. I'm on the draw plus a Bobble to help find the second land, so got a few shots at it. Esper Sentinel's a little rough, but we're just gonna get down our Ragavan. Obviously, if opponent has like Sigarda's Aid Hammer right there, I'm kind of SOL. Not a lot I can do about that. Luckily, they do not. So here, I just get to like go bolt the Esper Sentinel, not give them their draw, bolt the Paladin, and next turn, if I find another land or if they don't do anything crazy, like if they play Sigarda's Aid, hammer up the Ornithopter, I can just steal the Ornithopter after that. But obviously, main deck Sword of Fire and Ice was not on my radar. You have to forgive me for that one. So, no reason to play their Sigarda's Aid. We're just going to see if they go to strap up this Fire and Ice. Reality Chip's a pretty good one. So, response to this, we'll steal the Ornithopter. This equip will fizzle since you can only equip to something that you control, but I get the Ornithopter, so if they want to go like strap up the Ink Moth, put a sword on it and swing, they're gonna have to find another mana, or no, they don't have to find another mana. They're fine, but they can't do anything else besides that. And that's not the worst thing in the world for me. So, let's get down Murktide. So, at the end of the day, I do have just like a 2-turn clock swinging on them with Murktide. I did not realize at this point that the Reality Chip was a creature on the stack. I always thought it was just like an artifact equipment on the stack. So, I cannot spell pierce that. And then it was like, okay, I really hope they don't find a way to equip, and they find a land so they can fire up the Ink Moth, equip up the Pure Steel. Which again, I do have just like 2 swings in with this Murktide and they're dead. I've got Ornithopter that can block something with the Fire and Ice. So, goal number 1 is get to a point where I can present lethal, which basically means I want them to attack with the Ink Moth, which is what it's looking like at the moment, or I want them to not be able to animate it to block. So, spell piercing this hammer just to try to get them to tap mana. Because at the moment, if they don't find a way, if they don't find another land off this hammer, or a way to make mana, then they can't fire up the Ink Moth and block the Murktide. And they find exactly a Paradise Mantle off the top. So, not a land, but gives them the free mana to fire up the Ink Moth. But then they find the land anyway, so we're kind of back to net neutral. Swinging with the Paladin. I'm definitely blocking with this Ornithopter. Because if they hit me, they get to kill the Ornithopter anyway. And then I'm just dead to like Ink Moth plus Hammer and Fire and Ice. So they start moving around equipment all over the place and play out this Sentinel, which is fine because at the end of the day, if I don't find a way to deal with this Ink Moth and get my Murktide through, like, I'm dead anyway. So they've got Pure Steel, Fire and Ice, Hammer, I don't know why they don't equip up, like, the Sentinel with the hammer here. I don't think it would have mattered, since they had to, like, tap out to do, to get this block in, but it would have technically been correct. So, we'll pay for the Sentinel, kill the Ink Moth, get in with Murktide. So, thankfully, top decking removal spells right when you need to is still a way to win games. Sideboarding brought in the 2 dress downs, the 2 dress downs over the 2 counter spells, the 3 engineered explosives over 3 of these little derpy dudes, and then for the last 2 spots, the Magus of the Moon and the Blood Moon over the last 2. So the counter spells are a little awkward against, like, Ink Moth Nexus, and especially on the draw against Stoneforge Mystic. So a little less excited about them. Opening hand, we've got a counterspell, but we've also just got, like, Unholy Heat, Dress Down, Iteration. So we're going to keep this. Main phase Steel Shaper's Gift is, like, really good sign for us. Alright, so we'll take our 1... Get rid of the Stoneforge. And we'll just sit on Counterspell this turn. So, I decided to fetch main phase there. Which you'll see a couple times throughout the league. Just to play around my opponent potentially having something. And being able to fight over, like, this fetch being on the stack. Like, I just don't like the not knowing aspect. Like, what they could have, I don't know. But I think it's better safe than sorry. So here I'm just hoping they Windmill Slam this Sword of Fire and Ice. And they do. So don't have to deal with that, which is really nice. And then we're just going to get our Connive on. Ditch the Dress Down. I could just ditch the Murktide. But honestly, I like having the Clock. And then my opponent just, like, connives away our Murktide for us. So, in the words of my ancestors, yeehaw. Then I'm fine with this Ragavan trade. Like, Ragavan getting anything off the board is a positive for me. Magus cuts off, like, Spell Pierce or Urza Saga, Ink Moth, all that kind of stuff. And, like, I don't have blue for these Archmage's Charms, but I do have blue for the Expressive Iteration. So, I can do that. Pay. Happen to find my second islands. That's a good sign. So decide to hold up Unholy Heat here instead of Spell Pierce. Mainly because they've got, like, plenty of mana to pay for Spell Pierce on a hammer or something. So I don't think holding up Spell Pierce does a ton. But Unholy Heat to kill the Esper Sentinel. Which I probably shouldn't have killed the Esper Sentinel there. I should have just, like, waited and had Unholy Heat for something like this Pure Steel Paladin. Because now we start running into the issue of, okay, if my opponent's got Pure Steel, Hammer, another artifact, and then like a way to equip everything to the pure steel. Like, I'm probably just dead to that. But alas, they do not have the second one, which means we can find some way of dealing. Then decide not to attack with the Magus, because if they, like, find an artifact, equip up the hammer, swing into the Magus, I'm fine taking this block. But if they don't find anything, then I can just, like, lock them off of spell pierces and stuff and counter whatever their artifact is. Ditch these dead Murktides. And then just drawing the Unholy Heat means that, like, we don't care about much that goes on now. He blows up Hammer, Springleaf Drum. Connive away these extra Ledger Shredders, and that is it. Rio, on to match number 4. So, lose a die roll. Keep a hand with just like turn 1 heat, double counterspell, iteration, looks great. Temple Garden, Noble Hierarchs, your initial guess is just like Heliod. Then we see second Hierarch, so we're just gonna kill that. Hierarch, Ice Fang. So now I have no idea what we're up against. And Wall of Omens gives it away. It's this Aspiring Spike, Bant, Ephemerate deck that he's been playing recently. So here I'm kind of thinking like, alright, let me just hold up counter spells and things for like Collected Company. That's kind of the biggest issue for me right now. And if I'm able to find another land and like get down Murktide and have counter spells, then I think it's going to be difficult for me to lose. But I don't want to like Expressive Iteration and tap off of counterspell when they can pay for spell pierce. But we will counter Soul Herder because I can pay or spell pierce a Collected Company if that's their last card in hand right now. So there's our 4th land. Again, we're just going to sit on counterspell. And here's where the game goes south. Like, this looks like just desperation, Ephemerate, draw some cards. So I'm going to counter that, and then they just immediately slam the company to punish it. Like, we had the read on company. We should have just trusted our gut and let them have, like, a couple redraws that might not matter. But instead, they get to whip back the company. So we're just going to double threat here, try to connive, get to some more gas. Because we can't counter the company anyway, so might as well just present the best board presence that I can, let them have it. But now they get Deputy to take my Murktide, plus Soul Herder to start blinking Ewit, get back company, Ephemerate, whatever. So I thought they were going to get back Ephemerate here, but they ended up getting back company. Which I think they should have just gotten Ephemerate and, like, blinked their E-Witness, but... Then Endurance off the top, shutting off my second Murktide. So yeah, this is just, like, super rough spot where we just kind of got heavily punished for that counterspell on the Ephemerate. And should have cast, or should have attacked with that second Ledger Shredder, because I forgot about the Exalted on Endurance. And they can just attack in without much fear. So let's get some little bit of interaction, but unfortunately we can't play it because we just know about this company in hand. And then they just find second deputy of detention. Like, I have to do something about this. But not much we can do there. It's like, even if I counterspell the deputy, they just have company and too much value to overcome. So, game 2, I board in... Blood Moon and Magus don't really matter because they've just got a bunch of Noble Hierarchs and stuff. So I board in the Dress Downs. 2 Dress Downs over the 2 Spell Pierces. The 3 Engineered Explosives over 3 of the Ragavans. What else? The Fluster Storms over the Spell Pierces, just for company. So, not a great board plan, but then we're just keeping a hand that's trying to sweep up some of the go wide effect. Oh. Bolt the bird. And then if they had just played like a wall or something there, I probably would have just dressed down to do something. Because I'm drawing all these EEs, I'm just going to go ahead and wipe one on this Hierarch. Go 1 for 1. Main phase Endurance is fine. Then I'm just going to fire off one of these Dress Downs just to try to do something. I don't want to be in a holding pattern. I could have played out like the EE on 2 here just to have it on board, but I know about the Deputy of Detention in hand. So, unfortunately, opponent kind of realizes, like, all they have to do is sit here and attack. They don't have to do anything. So, the hope here is that they go to, like, end of turn, let the Dress Down sack, and then go for the company. So that I've got Counterspell here, and I get the Connive trigger off the Ledger Shredder. But, yeah, they just kind of have everything. Like, they had a good clock in Endurance, which meant I had to make proactive plays. They had the Deputy that we knew about. Now I know they've got the company in hand. I can't stop the company, so I might as well just get down the Murktide. Kind of just like game one. And then they hit another deputy and soul herder, so like they can just deputy this, soul herder, blink Ewit, get back company, or blink deputy. They can like blink this deputy, give me back this ledger shredder. Deputy comes back and exiles both of them. So not a good spot to be in. I think that's just going to be like worst matchup possible for any of your traditional 1-for-1 removal decks, 1-for-1 counterspell decks, anything like that. So keep it with one lander. This is match number 5. We're now 3-1. Keep a one lander with Consider, Bolt. So I've got interaction if they play a 1-drop, or I can just like try to Consider. So hard evidence means that it's more than likely another Indomitable Creativity deck. So finding second land there is huge. And I think I'm just going to fire off one of these bolts. Would have preferred to like counterspell a Wrenn and 6 or something. Did not really have Spell Pierce on my radar there. I thought they were just going to crack the clue. But it's fine. We'll take our free bolt on the Fable token. So now, because I drew the land, I know I can fire off this iteration and hold up Counterspell next turn. So we'll just let the Bird Lawyer go away. Then here is just that same kind of play pattern of let's get down Murktide, hold up Counterspell, and just try to make this like a 2-turn clock. So if it doesn't kill me and it doesn't kill Murktide, I'm not countering it. So Prismari Command and Explorer both don't kill me. They don't kill Murktide, so I don't care about them. Fable doesn't kill me, doesn't kill Murktide, don't care about it. Then we're just going to bolt them. I think this is just like in case I drew into bolt, maybe like Fiery Islet into Murktide or something. Like just give myself that back door out of maybe I win off of a cheese here. Because I don't care about bolting this reflection. They're not copying anything that I like give two shits about, so. And then if they do play something that I care about them copying, I've got Counterspell and Spell Pierce back up. So, end of the day, it's fine. Yep, I will gladly take 4. Why am I yawning so much? And again, if it doesn't kill me, doesn't kill Murktide, I don't care about it. Creativity kills Murktide. So we're going to counterspell that. And then if they've got the second creativity here, we've got the Spell Pierce for that. And we're just going to crack Islet, make it look like we drew into it. And that's game number 1. So now we've got game number 2. Sideboard, really similar to the first match against Creativity. Like, the 1-for-1 spot removal is not very good, so I'm boarding it out for like Fluster Storms, Engineered Explosives, and then board out 2 more things for the Blood Moon and the Magus of the Moon. So we've got Heat. EE's one of our better sideboard cards. Then I cracked the EE cracked the Bauble right away because I want to give myself the most chances of drawing into a Spell Pierce in case they have a turn 2 Renin 6. Which that is not a Renin 6, or that is not a Spell Pierce. But that is a Renin 6. Alright. So we're just going to sit on Counterspell. Don't care about a hard evidence. Pop that out so it doesn't keep shrinking. Start getting basic islands because we know we brought in Blood Moon. So Ragavan down, EE on 0. So if they want to ping the Ragavan, they can. It doesn't really bother me. Also means that if I get to counterspell something, I turn on Delirium so I can just Unholy Heat the Ragavan. And then here we get to shock in and hold up Otawara. So like maybe I want to Otawara the Renin 6. Just about having options. But like at the end of the day, the chances of this Renin 6 killing me are pretty low. But that counterspell, like I said, does give me Delirium, so I can fire off the Unholy Heat on the Renin 6. Then Expressive Iteration, as always, is a fantastic draw. And I'm going to play out the Ragavan, hold up the EE here so that I'm safe against creativity. And then next turn, I can like slam the Blood Moon. And in this case, I get to just like untap, play out the EE, or play out the Blood Moon here. Make them make a decision on like this Wooded Foothills. I've got Spell Pierce and Counterspell open in case they want to fight over the Blood Moon. Which they do. So Spell Pierce off of the Steam Vents. So that I can still have Spell Pierce or Counterspell up if I end up getting a treasure token this turn. But decide to crack EE. Alright, so best draws would be like another Expressive Iteration. Now they're pretty well locked out of like everything outside of Fable flipping over and allowing them to like transmogrify or something on the Fable. So I could have played EE on 3 to protect against that, but I don't want to blow up my Blood Moon. There's the Transmogrify, but we've got the Counterspell. And then top deck the Unholy Heat for the Fable. Keep our Ragavan alive. if I had like more mana or a backup threat, I would consider swinging in with the Ragavan into the Fable and just offering the trade. But because I have nothing else going on, I kind of want to hold on to it. So let's go with Ledger Shredder, then we'll play their Hard Evidence. Get to connive away this EE. Crack the Clue. Nothing relevant. And then second Murktide, unfortunately, is not great for conniving. Thought about attacking with a crab token, but I figured maybe there's a chance they have Ragavan or something and they just dash back. But we'll get a Murktide down. Just limit their outs. And they scoop after that. So ended up going 4-1 that league. Basically, the matches that we won didn't really feel like I did much outside of draw cards, play a Murktide, hold up a counterspell. Like, wasn't a whole lot of thinking and planning involved. The Prowess matchup was pretty thought intensive, but like the two Indomitable Creativity matches were just counter stuff in Murktide. Like, no real thought or reason. Which is one of the reasons that this deck is like so good in the meta right now, is it just has a very straightforward, repeatable game plan that yields results. And there's not really much you need to change for it. You've got decent Grave Hate, but you're just backed up by a ton of counter spells, and so you're pretty favored against the unfair stuff. Not much to say, but this will be the first league up in the non-Shadow series. So feel free to check it out for more, or as always, hop on over to the stream if you got stuff that you want to see at twitch.tv/the_control_freak, where we would love to hear thoughts and opinions of what y'all want to see next. So I will catch y'all later. Have a awesome rest of your day. Stay safe. Enjoy some good food and company. Adios for now.